because it's scorched to Zven. It
No,
can't pick up
exactly,
on
right?
it.
no longer absorbent.
There's not a great surface area for bacteria to thrive. Anyway, as we're getting in
This
here,
is this is the important information about the toast right here. But you're right, we are getting into our draft. Let's see how it starts off with C9 on blue side, Disguised on red side for game number 1. Aurora, Yunara, Vi banned out by C9, Disguised with that standard Pantheon ban on the red side, alongside both Annie and Poppy.
And I will say, I was actually pretty surprised by how chill Castle was feeling about the matchup. You know, even just chatting to him prior to the interview, he was feeling really relaxed and feeling like, hey, they actually have a good shot. You know, all the pressure is on Cloud9. They're the big favorites. They're the ones that are supposed to be playing against FlyQuest this week. Instead, they're here in the losers bracket, right? So he was thinking they could get pretty nervous if anything goes wrong at all.
Yeah, and one thing that I was curious about going into this draft is what power picks would be left open. No Rumble bans, no Gwen bans, both champions that received nerfs on this most recent patch, right? But we do see the Rumble locked in on the side of DSG, and then the Azir immediate pickup for C9 makes complete sense. Loki has been really, really good on that champion, and you can pretty much design any composition around it.
Yeah, the first 3 picks in this game are all turbo power picks for game 1, right? Azir first pick into the immediate slam of Rumble and Varus, the response from Disguised. Seeing that Rumble locked in though, the response from C9 will be the Ambessa for Thanatos, and then they'll go ahead and lock in the Wukong here for Blaber.
Yeah, and these are 2 champions already that can get onto that Varus. Like, you're going to want stuff to kind of be able to take him out in team fights, and then we see the Yone locked in for Darkwings.
Yeah, I'm actually really excited to see how Darkwings does on this, because really, I kind of heavily associate him with control mages, right? And that's generally been his style. And looking through his match history all time, he has 2 Yone games. So not a lot of Yone games.
Yep,
he won one and he lost one, you know, so
hey, 50%.
50%, you win or you lose every time you play League of Legends. So he does lock that in, but I like the confidence, right? You need to come into this and you need to be able to throw down picks that maybe they're not expecting, you know, bring out some of these more aggressive looks because you are a heavy underdog. You cannot just sit back and say, all right, we're going to play like 5 scaling picks and we're going to look to team fight and we're not going to do anything for 30 minutes because your Nexus will have exploded by then.
Yeah, especially with the way C9 play, right? Like they typically play more of a standard style through their really strong laners. So yeah, I also like it because all of the pressure here is not on DSG.
Right.
No, this would be, as Waiting Room already covered, one of the biggest upsets, if not the biggest upset in LCS LTA North history. So again, I don't know how Darkwings is going to do. It isn't necessarily what I'd consider his playstyle, as Azael already pointed out. When we've seen him go towards more off, quote-unquote, off meta picks, it still has been mages, like that Malzahar we saw from him earlier. See a lot of engaged supports getting banned out, as well as the Maokai setup. C9 do not want DSG getting that with the Rumble and Varus on top of it.
Yep, the Alistar, the Nautilus, the Maokai all banned away. Sivir also banned out here by Disguise. They can see the enemy composition already having like the Wukong, the Ambessa, all ready to pile in on that Varus like you're talking about. They don't want Sivir leading the charge with the On the Hunt. And now with the bans all wrapped up, 4th pick of the draft, the jungler for Disguise. They'll lock in the Sejuani here for eXyu.
And I think it's actually a really good pick. You have double melee solo lanes, you have AP, you have AD, you know, you do actually have some pretty good synergies there that they can look to try to attack these solo laners if they see the opportunity. Corki is going to be the pick. I wonder, okay, I was going to say, is it going to be with a range support? Because we've been seeing a lot more Corki kind of played in these aggressive lanes where they really want to look to take advantage. DSG does have the option to have that last pick here for support to try to get a strong 2v2. So I'm curious to see where they're going to go. Yeah, Nico feels obvious. You know, Karma, if you want to go for another strong laning pick, I think can be a great option.
There we go.
And it is going to be Karma. So to me, those were kind of one of the 2 options if you're trying to play for 2v2. And I actually really like what they've done here. You got counterpick in mid, you're counterpicking in bot. Like, you have a lot of lanes. Actually, I would say all 3 lanes should be potentially like counters, quote unquote. I don't think Yone is going to be killing Azir, you know, anytime early. That's more of a scaling matchup. You're probably going to be getting pushed in. But both top and bot, I think you should be able to have push. Sejuani has 2 great lanes to gank, you know, in both mid and top. So I feel like they've put some really good pieces together here to give themselves a solid shot against Cloud9.
One thing I am going to be looking for in this game, though, like we're talking about, you know, the pressure is on Cloud9, but for Disguised, you know you are the underdog. You've got to make moves. You cannot just sit there and scale. And considering, you know, Rumble's not going to be leading any major engages. Huhi is not on an engaged support himself. I'm looking at eXyu and I'm looking at Darkwings to make these plays and push this momentum for Disguised if they want to try to keep up with Cloud9.
Yeah, in particular, I want to see where eXyu is going to go early. I think when he has been at his best in LCS or LTA North, it has been around finding playmaking with his lanes. I think even despite a few like obvious mistakes in his last game, he had like a generally strong series across the board. Looked like he had much better synergy with the team overall. Again, outside of a few misplays.
Yeah, absolutely. And I mean, we talked a lot about the DSG draft, but over on the other side, there's a ton of comfort picks, powerful picks here for Cloud9. Thanatos Ambessa is, I think, the pick I most heavily associate with his dominance. This is his 70% win rate Ambessa that he is playing. This guy is an absolute monster on the pick. It felt like when it fell out of meta for everyone else in the LTA, it still stayed in meta for him because he's so damn good at it. And you have picks like Vulcan on the Bard. Yes, there's been a ton of Busio Bard hype lately, but Vulcan has been nasty as well. And we wanted to talk about this. This is a quote from Pros, where Anero is saying we do a presentation every morning, and we stopped doing this. We stopped doing this split, but it would basically have, you know, a bad, good, or so bad it should be remade, essentially, vote here. So what we're going to do here is we're going to have chat vote. So you have to spam good, bad, or remake to pass your vote on Anero's draft. So how did he do in game number 1? And we're going to have you guys voting on it every game. And then maybe if Anero commits some crimes, we can convict him based on the evidence provided by chat.
Exactly. Is he an innocent man? Is it a misdemeanor? Is his behavior in the draft felonious?
Yes.
We shall find out at the end of the series here today, but we will keep track of it every single game going forward. Let's go ahead and see how things are going to start off here. As both junglers are beginning at their red buffs, we didn't get anything spicy back at level 1. Vulcan's already set up the 3 hot cocos down by the turret down here early on with the Bard, making sure that he and Zven will have that extra healing so they can play nice and aggressive here at that first level. You can see Rahel running the teleport on Varus. I feel like this is not nearly as common on Varus as it is on something like an Ezreal.
Yeah, I've got to say I'm kind of shocked with how well Vulcan was actually trading against Huhi there. He started W, like he started heal, right? And he's not eating a single one of those. Huhi has Mantra Q at level 1, and they're trading even.
Yeah, he's ready to flex his muscles there on that Bard, man.
Now he's going to heal back up.
I was just informed by our producers that C9 Jack voted good in the Twitch chat.
Nice.
So he's got
standing by his man.
He's like, I've seen enough.
He's standing by his man.
All right, so at least they've got some confidence there. But before the game, Zven was talking about his choice of skin for this one.
We need to change the Corki skin that we're using here.
Sounds so good, no, the skin. Like, it's so low elo for like how new it is. And like with W, it's like eggs.
It's eggs.
How can you focus?
Trixie.
It's so low elo, how can you focus?
UW and its X.
The skin is too low elo, that's a class.
I will say it looks so much smaller.
Yeah, that's the thing that gets
it
me.
actually tilts
Why
me.
is it so
like,
small?
It looks so much smaller than
shrunk our
other
boy
Corki skins.
It's a recession.
Okay,
All right, they're on the side of Anero here.
Yeah, okay, so that's almost 2/3 of viewers thinking that Anero had a good draft this time. 10% of people believing that it's bad, and then 1/4 of people thinking it's so bad it needs to be remade.
They just want to watch the world burn.
Yeah, C9 famously does not remake in scrims as well. So
it's been learned from Inspired.
yeah.
But it's gonna be a fun series. I do think there's a ton of pressure on C9 though, so getting a good start does feel important. And when I asked Blaber, you know, what the #1 thing they need to kind of work on and focus on, he said consistency, right? And I do think that makes a lot of sense because this is such a strong team as far as, you know, the individual talent, as far as their laning phase. But they do have that tendency to throw some games, and it's something that they really want to clean up. You know, not only for going up against DSG, but also for going forward. You're already in the lower bracket. You don't get another chance. You don't just have to win this one to get to LTA playoffs. You have to win more series to even have a chance to go to Worlds.
And right, you know, if we're in regular season or something and you have a couple of throws, yeah, it sucks. It's a little bit cringe, but, you know, you bounce back from it. You're like, okay, we just need to learn. But once you get to these higher stakes matches, once you get to the point where, hey, this really matters for whether or not you get to go to championships, whether or not you get to go to worlds, right? Like, you've got to lock in when it counts.
And they're playing up against a team that has been doing pretty well lately the last 7 matches.
Okay, all right,
buddy.
This is a little specious.
This is completely accurate.
What
These
are
are,
we,
this is the records of the teams
what are we
over the
doing
last
here?
7 games that they've played.
We're cooking the numbers
It
a
just
bit.
happens to be that DSG
These are
played
deep
them
fried, Emily.
They played them 7 times, but it was their last 7
We should have had
games.
the like pagoda deep fried filter over it.
Yeah, no, Isaac burnt the egg rolls on this one. I don't know exactly.
Or some toast.
Was anything I said incorrect?
Let him cook,
No,
but I
Are
ain't
the
eating.
last 7 games,
no.
or is it not?
No,
It is technically correct.
It is more than technically correct. It's just correct. That's
I'm
the
not
last
hungry
7
for
games
whatever this
for both
cook
those
is,
teams.
brother. We are not. No, I'm just. Hey, anyway, there's no kills yet. 5 minutes into the game, everybody's playing it pretty safe. Disguised up about 500
C9's
gold.
up against a 5-2 team over the last 7.
Oh my God. Okay.
This is no pushover.
You're having way too much fun with this. Disguised is also having a lot of fun down here in the bottom lane. You can see that gold lead that they've built, the majority of that is in the bottom lane with the Varus Karma, this powerful lane duo like you were talking about, Azael, saving that 5th pick red side for support, picking the Karma to go alongside the Varus for the massive lane control and that bullying potential. They've got a huge farm lead over their opponents.
Yeah, and it allowed them to have first rotation on this Drake as well. Yone has also been pushing in on that mid lane, so it gave them really good map control to be able to take that first. So nicely done by Disguised, right? Like, they stayed in that lane. They knew they were going to be winning the pressure out on that based on matchup. Now we'll see if eXyu is looking for something.
Nope.
Gets spotted on a ward.
Sven just drops the eggs, goes to the magical journey, and gets on back through the wall.
God, he looks so small. Look at how small he is compared to Bard.
Yeah, he's smaller than the
why
AT&T
is the guy's
flag.
plane? It's like, it looks like one of those toy cars, you know, when you see a little baby rolling around and they're like,
Oh, and you can see their feet. You can see their
Is that
feet
what
on
they're
the
called?
bottom.
At least in America, that's what they are. Yeah, I had
they?
one when I was a little kid. Yeah, it's called a cozy coupe.
Oh,
It's a
you
little
were a
plastic
bougie
car.
baby.
No,
Yeah,
dude,
I was like, my parents didn't get me toys.
I was one of those. We couldn't get those. Those were too
Yeah.
expensive.
They weren't super
You just
expensive.
revealed yourself. You're a bougie
Yeah,
baby.
my
the-
parents just kicked my butt outside.
The bugs would attack them all the time,
Nope.
and then you had to get a baseball bat and beat the bugs to
Captain
death so you
Flowers
could
has been
drive the
revealed.
car
He's a
around.
bougie baby.
Wow.
Driving around in a Mercedes
know.
baby mobile.
It was a Flintstones car, man. It's made of plastic. Oh my God. Okay.
I'm
Probably
just
had the leather
imagining,
driving gloves too and everything.
I'm just imagining tiny flowers zooming around. You can see his little feet like running around the
the sound effect?
driveway. Yeah.
No, man, I was having a great time with my cozy coupe. I was playing Grand Theft Auto at 3 years old.
Yeah, I was not allowed to have that.
I
My,
want one of those.
my parents probably started me in like cram school at that age or something.
It's like, Emily, you haven't learned algebra yet. You can't have a cozy
I know, right? Anyway, childhood trauma aside,
We have a lane swap
DSG,
now.
yeah,
Okay.
DSG did rotate their bot lane up here, now leaning into the Ambessa, previewing a potential grub take as eXyu going to clear out this ward around mid. So I think DSG will be rotating that. C9 should be able to contest this, though.
Okay. Binding there onto eXyu as he has to Arctic Assault back over the wall, but of course that means that he is stuck inside the pit, so has to flash away to guarantee that C9 can't get the free kill on him. It also opens up enough space for C9 to guarantee themselves the first grub at the very least, but now they will back away as Disguise moves 4 men into the area, and it looks like now they are the ones in control over this top side river space. They'll secure the first grub of their own. Blaber's still hanging out nearby, thinking about that last grub, but of course he won't get there in time. So a 2-1 grub lead for the side of Disguise, but now Blaber goes in with the first cast of the Cyclone onto Rahel. The Varus disengaging. Loki now with a big shuffle onto 3. Disguised in danger. First blood goes over to Loki, and now even more pours in. Disguised is completely crushed in the fight, and C9 get a 3 for nothing. Now back in the bottom lane, Disguised at least hits back as Castle gets a solo kill on Zven with the dive, but now a TP coming to reinforce, so Castle has to leave before Vulcan can find anything back.
Yeah, that is a big play there for Cloud9, getting a lot of kills all kind of started off of the initial aggression from Vulcan, you know, trading flashes with eXyu, forcing that flash out, then, you know, forcing the sidestep from Rahel, which was really well played by him, but that meant he had to flash as Blaber goes in, and everyone from Cloud9 is able to pour in, get those kills, get defeat of Warfare, and that is a big deal. Considering that this has been actually a very close and slightly favored to DSG game. I mean, look at this nice sidestep by Rahel, but it kind of puts him out of position, allows Blaber to get in there. That means he has to flash, and that I think is where everyone from Cloud9 decides, you know what, we're going to full send it. Blaber's flashing in, Thanatos is flashing in, Loki's flashing in. Everyone is going to go in and try to knock down this low mobility Varus.
Yeah, great results there from Loki, having that massive three-man shuffle. And the only reason Darkwings doesn't die there for the 4th kill is because he has to flash away now too. So many resources spent on Disguised for a result that was still a 3-for-0.
And I think you also see why or how Loki is so comfortable on this Azir, right? And how C9 are more than willing to follow up when they find the window. They also end up denying all 3 grubs going to DSG as well. So even though DSG do claim the feat there, C9 gets a piece of Warfare, plus denying that extra grub.
Okay, Darkwing is going to take some damage here from Loki as he tries to back away with Vulcan coming up right behind his mid laner. That means that Darkwings would not want to hang around here any longer. Pretty important, Blaber just completed his purchase of Trinity Force, massive power spike. I always think that this is always one of, if not the highest single item power spikes that exist in League of Legends for champions that want to build it. And now he's got that online here, just shy of 11 minutes. And critically, right as the second Drake is about to spawn.
Yeah, and you could already see how C9 are looking at how they're going to get onto Rahel, right? As soon as Rahel was even the slightest bit out of position, they were able to get onto this Varus. This is what the Wukong, Ambessa, and Azir will all be able to do, right? And now that Blaber has that Trinity Force locked in, like you pointed out, it's already a massive power spike, and we see them already setting up for this Drake take.
And obviously we haven't touched on it, but Rahel is playing Poke Varus, you know, he is playing Common, he's going to be playing Validity. And obviously that is kind of a bit of a nod towards that, as maybe a dive.
Well, yeah, Thanatos scrapping with Castle here, but Castle's ready to turn it around. The public execution trying to buffer away from some of the CC won't matter. Castle just solo kills Thanatos.
That's former KT Challengers Castle locking in.
And now back in the mid lane, Loki's gonna get beat down here too. That's both solo laners on Cloud9 dead. Now Huhi's got to try to escape down here, flashes out of the danger with 100 HP remaining. Rahel with a defensive chain of corruption, but immediately Vulcan, Zven, and Blaber all ready to follow, so they may miss out on the support kill, but they will take out the enemy AD carry.
I mean, DSG is still up a little bit of gold. This is a very competitive game here. That dive was way over ambitious from Thanatos. I mean, he just kind of straight up went in. I mean, yes, Castle was a little bit low, but now Thanatos TPing back. He has no flash.
He
doesn't have any way out. If eXyu gets the kill on this, if Thanatos just teleported back in only to die, this is tragedy for the C9 top laner. Thanatos with no respect up here, and Disguised are happy to sit him down.
And as we see here, these two top laners' recent performance from their prior series. Again, the dig numbers
looking like a 5-2 top laner up there.
Potentially cooking it. But the thing I really liked about this is eXyu recognizing that he could go for a redive, right? Because after that solo kill came through, where Thanatos gets a little overambitious, eXyu recognizes, okay, we can just kill him again.
Yeah, I mean, I just think that Thanatos was being pretty disrespectful. I mean, even from the initial dive that he's looking for, it's like, great, you want to go for this chunk, but then why are you staying around for the extra hits there? And then at this point, that's just a panic ultimate backwards, you know, trying to run away, realizing he's overstepped. Then they show up mid lane here. They're punishing the missing flashes from Cloud9, and this is just fantastic. Q3 hits into the Fate Sealed, into the Sejuani ultimate, and then yes, they do get a kill back on bot side, but then you're TPing on the wave with no flash up on the top side for Ambessa, and that's what led to him getting killed once more. So it's not as though Cloud9 are just, you know, completely falling apart, but a couple disrespectful plays in a row on the top side does mean some big punishes, and Castle, 13 minutes into this game, has 2 solo kills plus the assist. He's in a great spot already on the Rumble.
Well, and as we pointed out, as we see eXyu visiting this bot lane, the way this composition is going to have success, because Huhi is not on a traditional engaged support like I think DSG is really used to, and also what we think of from Huhi, right? Yeah. And so it is up to eXyu to be making these plays, and thus far he's done a really good job of recognizing where he can be with his lanes to punish those C9 flashes.
Okay, here comes another dive. Q3 into the Fate Seal. Darkwings makes it easy, and there's 2 more dead bodies in Cloud9 jerseys down here in the bottom lane. Disguised keeps the pressure going. They're almost 2,000 gold ahead.
I mean, they are looking strong in this first game, man. It is kind of crazy. Need I remind you, records in the last 7. Come on.
As we see, with Blaber's help, Thanatos is going to be able to get on to Castle. However, down on that bot side, it's DSG locking in that first turret for themselves. So really nice little early game that DSG have put together for themselves. And I think, again, we look at how this composition is going to play out. They seem to recognize what they have to do to succeed.
Absolutely. I mean, eXyu and Darkwings are working well together. Darkwings has been setting up some of these engages. It's C9 on the Herald, though, and they are here a lot faster. Feels like this is probably just gone.
Okay, Huhi and eXyu are hanging around, but yeah, that Herald immediately claimed by C9. Magical Journey to get everybody away safely through the terrain. Huhi's still just going to keep walking up, making sure that Disguise can regain control over the topside river, but there's not really anything to fight for in here. And you can see total damage coming up there on the side of the screen. It is Loki who has done the most damage so far, but he's also playing Azir into a melee matchup. You're going to get a lot of damage for free in that laning phase.
Yeah, that's not really a surprise whatsoever. We can see a lot of the first items obviously have already been completed here. But C9 going to have to be able to outplay, in some of these fights. They do obviously have some pretty good scaling, but there's some good scaling on the other side as well. Yone is just a massive threat in the side lanes.
Build.
Yeah.
There you go, Blade of the Rune King. Really, you just need Vamp Scepter and boots, let's be honest.
Yeah, Vamp Scepter Zerker Greaves is full build. This is like post-game with Elixir.
Yeah, this is already...
50-minute Gathering Storm.
Oh, God.
This is the true Yone.
I don't miss those days.
All right, 6-5 though, so kills still pretty close overall. Disguised with a modest gold lead of 1,000. It's not anything to write home about. It's not like you're saying, oh, the game is already done. But honestly, it's very impressive for a team that everybody was expecting to be completely outclassed in this matchup. Disguised have really stepped it up here in the early game as we're starting to get towards the mid-game stage in these larger fights now.
And some of it is the draft, as we already pointed out, in terms of how some of these laning matchups go. However, I think the more impressive thing is that when I think of C9, it is because their strength is their strong lanes, right? It is their strong early game. And when they've been having issues, sometimes it's been around neutral objective setups, right? Or someone fighting them or challenging them when they're not necessarily in position. So for Disguise to have put together kind of this neat little early game is really impressive from them.
Absolutely, and I mean, it's been kind of individual outplays. Like I said, 2 solo kills from Castle. They have been able to find some good angles here. And the question for DSG is always going to be, can they actually snowball this into something more, right? Because this is a team that has been quite inconsistent. eXyu, I think, is having a great game, but eXyu, in a lot of games, will have, 5 incredible moments and then one, horrible moment that sometimes undoes all his good work, right? You have to be so careful because in League of Legends, each play is not equal, right? You can make 5 good early game plays and then 1 throw by Baron. The Baron more than undoes everything you've done up to that point.
Okay, Vulcan knocked up at a Q3 from Darkwings there as he snaps back to his origin point. Dragon down to about half HP as Disguised are looking to take this objective. Whoever this goes to also claims the feats of warfare. Thanatos and Castle arrive through TP, but now Thanatos is trapped inside the pit. They got to be careful about his positioning here as they go forward with the equalizer. Darkwings wanted the Fate Seal, but he's not going to find a whole lot here just yet. Thanatos jumping in for the public execution, but he will not get it. Castle overheating. The Flame Spitter pushing Cloud9 back. Disguised have claimed the feats, claimed the Drake, and they are continuing to move forward. eXyu flashing back away from Blaber, who wants to go over the wall for a second cyclone, but he just dies. Blaber overplays his hand, and now Disguised get a cherry on top with an extra kill at the end of the play.
And this was an incredibly close fight. So many low health bars there. Both teams were trying to find the angle to get something more. Rahel, though, throughout it all, was completely untouched. He sidestepped everything thrown at him, was constantly poking and prodding at Cloud9. And they had a really good engage over on a Blaber that forced him backwards away from the Dragon, allowing them to secure the Dragon, allowing them to secure those upgraded boots, and the eventual teamfight win.
Yeah, and then Blaber trying to go in and get that extra kill, doesn't end up getting it, ends up dying for it. Also not great for C9 as we take a look back at this fight. The Rumble Equalizer coming through in from Castle, who TPs on the back half of this, is also going to split this fight out as we see both teams kind of dancing around, trying to get windows on to that Drake. Thanatos going on to Huhi, but Huhi survives, and then, yeah.
I think eXyu honestly played it really, really well. He put pressure on Thanatos, in that pit, and then as Blaber was approaching the dragon, he hit him with that Glacial Prison, which sets up the equalizer on him. Blaber has to flash away, so Blaber could never get back in range to actually even be able to attempt to steal that dragon. And then as Blaber tries to go back in on the re-engage, I think he decided, you know what, I'm going to be chased down and killed by Rahel. I need to just try to turn and see if I can get something back. He ends up just going down, and it is now a pretty nice little advantage here for DSG. Again, just 1.5K, but they have grabbed a couple dragons.
Okay, Huhi caught out there by the Tempered Fate. Public execution for the follow-up, and Huhi is out of there. Now Blaber continuing, putting extra pressure onto eXyu, who Arctic Assaults back over the wall. But C9 find themselves a nice pick on the enemy support right as Otacon spawns.
Yeah, and for playmaking from C9, I do think this Bard is going to be crucial. Vulcan has shown just how good he is on it, and in that team fight we saw previously in mid lane, like post-Drake, it was also that Bard ult kind of not failing to hit someone. Here it hits, they get it onto Huhi, and again, the execution of this DSG comp, the next level of it is, for me, Huhi not being on an engaged support.
Yeah, absolutely. eXyu just going to pull the Otacon. I don't think they're going to commit to this. They obviously see Loki is right there, but they are TPing in, so they're actually just going to fully go for it. Ambessa was on the bottom side. They saw Thanatos down on the bottom side with no TP, so that's what's prompting this.
All right, Disguise looking to force the Otacon here. 20 minutes into the game. They've got it down to about half HP, but C9's already got 4 men here ready to respond. eXyu has to try to get away down to 10% HP as Darkwings dives into the back line, puts a little pressure onto Vulcan, but now he's going to be killed immediately. C9 have already found 2. eXyu and Rahel try to get away as Castle has no way home. Disguised make a critical blunder at the Otacon.
And that's kind of what we were talking about with Disguised, right? The Otacon claims kind of yet another victim. They thought they would be able to see the window because Ambessa was not there. She was actually able to walk up and participate in the back half of that fight as well. Really, really nice shuffle coming out.
And now they're going to get another one, too, as Thanatos walked into the brush. He sees eXyu hanging around, thinking about maybe an opportunity to steal the Otacon away, but the public execution is ready to go, and it lives up to the name.
Yeah, I mean, and just like that, all your work is undone, right? They have been building this slight advantage, but this positioning on the Otacon, it's almost impossible to win from here. They're tanking the Otacon the entire time. eXu's on one side, the rest of his team's on the other, then Darkwings goes in, but no one is there with him. He takes so much damage that when he snaps back, Loki finds the opportunity to full send it, gets in, knocks back multiple members, and they crush the fight. They get the Otacon, and they go from being down 1.5K to up over 2,000 gold in an instant. And now DSG, the wheels, just like that, kind of fell off.
Yeah, and I think this is the big difference between these two teams. We're talking about why is it such an underdog matchup for DSG. Yes, C9 did drop down to this lower bracket, but I think once they are able to claim a fight victory like this, right, they're so good at playing around a lead or recognizing how to snowball it. Immediately, that was just such a massive gold swing in their favor. And now they can kind of set up the map however they want and force DSG into bad decisions.
Also want to point out the itemization that I like here. Second item, Serpent's Fang from Thanatos. It helps in the quick, snappy trades with Rumble against his shield, and you're also going to be nullifying a lot of those Mantra shields from Karma in the middle of the team fights too. So I really like to see players recognizing opportunities to alter the build path a little bit. It's a cheap item to begin with, so it's not going to slow you down as much as something else would, and it should have a pretty high impact.
And something I was going to touch on prior to that last fight was the fact that Mikhail's was the rush for Vulcan, which I also think is really, really smart. We talked about who he's not on engage. It's up to eXyu. Well, how does eXyu engage with ultimate? What does Mikhail's do? Remove it. So that is pretty difficult, obviously, both for Chains of Corruption and the Glacial Prison. So I do think it's really smart itemization here for Vulcan. And you can see he's sitting on cleanse right now with a spellbook. Zven has a cleanse. So there's double cleanse, there's Mikhail's, and there's defensive Bard ults. It is going to be really tough now after those lost fights for DSG to find good engages and good fights.
The Otacon, man, it's just the harbinger of doom here in the LTA.
Friends.
I mean, that one was crazy. Let's be honest. Like, it wasn't even a sneak, right? They did it. Yeah, you saw Ambessa down on the bot side, but that was like an Otacon on spawn when you're not even that far ahead in the face of your opponents. And you're not, it's not even like you have, I don't know, like a Kaisa, like that's on hit or something, or like an Azir that's going to one-shot this.
Yeah, you don't have like a super fast, fast Otacon take.
Well, Disguise now have a seriously tall task in front of them. They've got to try to recover this. Also, the lead is not even as small, or the lead is not what it appears to be. It's even larger. 31 flowers as Huhi tries to flash away here. Gets the safety of Darkwings and eXyu. C9 continuing to try to fight here as Darkwings has to snap back, but he's going to be the one to die. Now with a tempered fate onto Huhi, they want to find even more. Zven trapped inside the pit. He's going to be cooked up by Castle as Thanatos jumps in for the public execution, and he wants to get one back. Castle's going to drop first. Now eXyu trapped in here as Loki and Vulcan are ready to go over the wall and hunt him down. Disguised is going to lose 4 men yet again, only for the trade on Zven. It's a disaster in the bot side river.
Yeah, C9 have just completely taken over control over this game. They're now running up towards this Baron with no chance for Disguise to contest this.
Yeah, I just cannot believe how fast the wheels have fallen off this game. Like, it looked like it was
They're in
really
another county at this point.
Competitive game here from DSG, and this one, another just great start to the fight. Blaber is able to find Huhi. Everyone from DSG decides to come in and look for this engage, but a quick cleanse and sidestep from Zven means that Darkwing finds nothing. He just goes down in the hurry. Even though Castle is able to trade back, you're spending so many resources to kill off Zven that everything else is falling apart around it.
Yeah, as we see them cleaning up. I was going to make the comparison since you talked about your little car. Yeah, it's like you running down the driveway with your feet underneath the little car. Like
my feet have now fallen off.
The wheels fell off.
I no longer have legs.
Blaber just rode up in his Hummer and just crushed your car.
Yeah, just immediately.
Like a monster truck.
The car is destroyed. There's
just like
nothing
kicked
left.
it over.
Yeah.
And the point I was making before that fight broke out is that the lead is even more than it appears. It's 35 flowers to 7. That's like an extra 2,000, maybe even 2,500 gold just worth of raw adaptive force that C9 has over Disguised right now. It is tough out here for Disguised.
Well, and they've also doubled their gold lead since that fight with the fight plus Baron plus pressuring these tier 2 turrets both in mid and on the bot side as this wave comes up.
There's a lot of blue at the top of that gold graph.
Yeah, the state of the game for Disguised is pretty dire at this point. They have to just try to lock in and hope that Cloud9 throws, hope that they overplay and try to dive too deep. But at this point, anything less than that is not going to cut it.
Yeah, I mean, you're down 7K. They have itemization to really answer what your composition is trying to do. And the Azir is monster fed now. Death cap, 3 items. Really going to be difficult to actually do anything about whatsoever. So it's going to be tough. And I mean, Vulcan still has not been forced to use that cleanse, so he's just going to sit on cleanse. And with cleanse and Mikhail's, he can always be able to be in a position to remove CC from his teammates. So he is looking really, really strong. And generally, when you get to this kind of point of the game, you're hoping for individual outplays in a side lane. You're hoping for some sort of a pick. And that really is your only chance. You know, if you can find 2v1s or 3v1s, get a quick kill, delay the game, and hope that you can slowly grind your way back in through that sort of a process. But Cloud9 are just going to keep playing smart League of Legends, pushing out these side lanes, controlling vision, and moving towards Soul.
And Cloud9 are at those critical, like, 3 major item power spikes that Disguised are not yet at, right? You can see the Lord Dominic's regards for Zven. You can see the Rylai's and the Rabadon's Death Cap and an Unbroken Seekers on Loki's Azir. Guardian Angel for Blaber's Wukong. He can just yeet himself in there, not have a care in the world about the results. And they'll take Cyclo Sword for Thanatos. Whoever this Ambessa lands on is just going to evaporate.
And that brings up a question of, like, if your response is, okay, we overload one side, we try to get a pick onto someone from DSG, well, who are you getting that pick on? Because everyone seems to have either escape tools.
Whoever gets a little bit bored and wants to die, that's who. That's what you're depending on.
I'll wait for that to happen. I don't think it's going to.
There hasn't been a kill in a while. I'll take this 1v1. Wait, there's people in that brush.
Oh, no.
That's what you're hoping for. Let's be honest. You're down 8K, and the Azir is Thanos at this point. They have both Thanos and Thanatos. It's not fair.
They are stacking
very overpowered.
They are stacking up some overpowered stuff right now, my friends. 8,000 gold lead, soul point for C9. I think at this point, you're just looking for them to close the game out cleanly. I think if you're Disguised, you're thinking about what to do in game 2. I think that Disguised needs to just get a red marker and over their mini-maps, put a big X wherever Otacon decides to spawn. This objective really did just derail their entire successful early game that we were praising so much.
LTA lose to Otacon. They're embracing the brand change here.
We're not the Bard region. We're the lose to Otacon region. No!
Well, the Bard is also doing pretty well this game.
The Bard is doing great.
Vulcan's 0-1-12. That's 6 out of 7 kill participation. That's what, like 86% KP? That's really good.
He's doing good.
Yeah.
Go.
Okay, let's see how fast they close this one out, though, because they do not have Baron, so they're continuing to just push the waves up. They're not making any real major progress towards cracking into the base, breaking through that tier 3 turret line.
So, I mean, DSG obviously very behind. We already knew that this was going to have to be an upset if they were to pull it off. So let's talk a little bit about some of the big upsets in NA history. Obviously, you know, this would be ranking up there if they were to win a series against Cloud9. But we've had some big ones over the years.
Okay, Thanatos wanting to jump in on Castle here, who has to flash away after his stasis just to guarantee that he survives. For the rest of Cloud9 now continuing to try to disengage. eXyu not going to hit a target there with the Glacial Prison, and Blaber jumps in for the Cyclone onto 3. Got to be a little bit careful here, but he still has the Guardian Angel. Loki with another massive shuffle. This man knows his Azir, and he finds the angle yet again, setting up the triple kill for Zven. And this is exactly that opportunity I was talking about for C9 to crack the base.
Loki's shuffles have been so sick this game. Even with Blaber going in, you're like, okay, is he in trouble? Is he in trouble? No. Loki is there to follow up. This Azir is such a massive comfort pick for him. And it really started with that play onto Castle, right? Because that gave them so much space to kind of push in on this top side of the map, completely take it over. And yeah, the greatest upsets, I don't think it's going to happen here in game 1.
No?
No.
That's a bold prediction.
Yeah.
So let's talk about it. To me, it's interesting because these are some of the greatest upsets that people were kind of asked around, you know, the casters and whatnot. To me, though, the one that comes to mind when I think of the biggest upset is still Clutch versus TSM.
In 2019,
Exactly. Even though it was not maybe like records-wise one of the craziest ones, at that point, TSM had just made every finals in a row. It was, I believe, over 10 in a row at that point. And it was just not something that you could really comprehend, TSM losing before finals.
Yeah, I mean, I think the biggest one still to me is the one all the way on this left side with that TSM roster where everyone was like, oh man, this TSM is so bad, like Yellow Star doesn't look like he fits with the team, blah, blah, blah. And meanwhile, this IMT team was just raising through the LCS, and then they ended up upsetting them in playoffs. That was still the biggest one to me. I thought of TSM Clutch too. I did leave it off this graphic because their records were so similar, but when I think of LCS upsets, that is the one that actually stands out in my mind the most.
You know, we have the voting for a Narrows drafts. I'm going to have to vote remake on that graphic for Emily. Because it didn't include Clutch versus TSM.
I vote Clutch versus TSM in there too. Records be damned.
Fresh, always remember.
Yeah, that was the one that in my mind stood out the most, and then I saw the record.
Hakuo Thresh and Huhi Lucian,
like,
for two very different reasons, are the ones that I associate most with upsets in NA.
Yeah, Hakuo Thresh was the absolute value of Huhi Lucian. Like, that was...
Can we chart that out on a graph?
There's like a mathematical proof for Hakuo Thresh as C9 are going for the Baron here. 33 minutes on the clock. DSG on the approach, but this Baron's going to be gone by the time they can even move forward. Tempered Fate there onto eXyu, sets him up to be a potential target as Blaber moves forward, loses about half his health bar here as Thanatos wants to wrap around from the side here with a public execution. Blaber still spinning around with a Cyclone. He's got the Guardian Angel and he doesn't even need it. A double kill for Thanatos as the third one comes through there for Zven. Castle and Rahel in full retreat as C9 now have the Baron on all 5 players. Vulcan with a nice magical journey to slow down Rahel and Castle both, and the rest of the team is ready to follow up. The middle inhibitor turret is gone. The inhibitor is going to follow. Yes, Castle managed to stay alive. Yes, he still has the equalizer, but it's not going to be enough to save these Nexus turrets. Cloud9's just going to melt through them. Disguised had a good early game, but they gave Cloud9 an inch and they took a mile. It's a 21-8. 16,000 gold win.
I mean, we know exactly how long that game went well for because it went well until Otacon spawned. So they had 20 minutes that went well. How did they get more than that, Lounge?
Decision making around Otacon. They love Otacon.
I would also say the first fight, the Grubs fight, was bad for DSG. It was good for Cloud9, and the Grubs are up by where Otacon eventually spawned.
Ooh, that's a good point.